ready to take your Spanish to the next level. Like beyond just greetings. Let's do a deep dive into comparatives. Being able to say one thing is bigger or spicier than another. All in Spanish, of course.
Comparatives, they're more than just grammar, really, right? They're about how we see the world, and in Spanish, they can make you sound so much more expressive.
For this deep dive, we're hanging out with Jaime Lara. He's this awesome Spanish teacher on YouTube. And we're checking out one of his videos where he's doing these practice exercises. So it'll be like we're in the classroom with everyone.
I like his teaching style a lot. It's cool how he makes the concepts really clear with everyday examples. Don't worry, though, we'll break it all down, even if you're not a grammar whiz.
Awesome. So let's jump in. First up, Jaime covers the three main ways to compare things: superiority, inferiority, and equality.
And those work just like they do in English. You're basically saying if something is more than something else, or less, or if they're the same.
I like how he uses visuals to show this, like when he compares two rivers, the Nile and the Tagus. The Nile is way longer, so he shows how to say, El río Nilo es más largo que el Tajo.
Perfect example. That sentence is like the blueprint. Más for more, largo is long, and que links the two things you're comparing, kind of like then in English. And the same structure works for inferiority.
Oh, right. Just swap in menos. Right. So to say the Tagus is shorter than the Nile, it would be El Tajo es menos largo que el Nilo.
See? Easy. Now, how about equality? I remember Jaime used a telephone and a cell phone for that.
Yeah, he wanted to show that both are equally useful. So in Spanish, it's el teléfono es tan útil como el móvil. That tan, como combo, basically means as emphasizing that they're the same.
Got it. So we have más que menos. ¿Qué tan es? Como? I'm cracking the code here, Like now I can compare anything. Even a dog and a cat like Jaime did in one of his exercises. I know, right? It's those visuals and relatable examples that help it stick. But speaking of things that stand out, there's this little thing with age comparisons in Spanish that trips people up sometimes.
Oh, tell me. In English, we'd say someone is older or younger. What about in Spanish?
In Spanish, you'd say mayor for older and menor for younger. You wouldn't usually use más viejo or menos viejo. It can sound a bit negative, like you're being disrespectful. Got to be mindful of the culture,
Wow, I totally would mess that up. So it's not just grammar, it's understanding how people actually speak. That's really cool.
Totally. It's a glimpse into how people think and feel. Even tiny things like age comparisons can tell you a lot about a culture.
So we've got the basics, the three types of comparisons and how to form them in Spanish. But I'm curious, does that más or menos always have to go before the adjective? Are there any times it doesn't?
That's a great question. You're thinking like a Spaniard already, looking for those little details. And yeah, usually más or menos goes before the adjective. But language is fun, right? There are always those little exceptions that make it interesting.
Well, exceptions, those are my favorite, like secret shortcuts in the language. So when would we change things up? Like put más or menos somewhere else?
Well, with adverbs, for example, when you're comparing how you do something, that más or menos often goes after the adverb. Say you want to say she speaks Spanish more fluently than me. It would be ella habla español fluidamente más que yo. So here, más is after fluidamente, which means fluently.
I see. So it's not just adjectives, we're comparing actions too. This is getting advanced. Oh, and that reminds me, Jaime used this phrase, tan guapa como ella, when he was comparing two sisters. What does that mean again?
Sure. Guapa means beautiful, like pretty. So tan guapa como ella is literally as pretty as she. That's that same structure for equality. Tan plus adjective plus como shows you how to compare qualities.
Right. Okay, so if I wanted to say, my house is big as your house, to show off a little, how would I say that in Spanish?
You'd say, mi casa es tan grande como tu casa. Sí, you're a natural.
This is making me want to book a trip to Spain and try it all out.
Oh.
Speaking of trying things out, what other cool examples were in Jaime's lesson that we can use?
Oh, tons. Like when he compared how much two people eat, he had this line, Leo come más manzanas que yo. Leo eats more apples than me. This shows that you can use these comparisons for quantities too, not just qualities, and even for actions.
So we can talk about how much someone does something, or how often. Wow, that opens up a whole new world. Like, think of all the situations where you'd want to say something like that.
Exactly. And we're just getting started. Spanish has a whole bunch of adverbs and other ways to make your comparisons even more detailed. But for now, you have the main tools to start making your Spanish more interesting and colorful.
I know, right? We've learned so much already. And going through these examples, I was thinking of all the stuff I could compare. Like, Madrid is more crowded than my hometown, or this coffee is less sweet than I expected. It's like I'm seeing things differently now.
That's what language learning does, It's not just words, it's changing how you think and how you notice things. And don't forget, even learning something small like comparatives can change how you talk to Spanish speakers.
For sure. But before we go too far, let's recap what we've learned today.
We looked at the 3 types of comparisons: superiority, inferiority, and equality. And we saw how to make them into Spanish sentences. Then we went further, comparing not just adjectives, but actions and how much of something, like how often someone eats or how well they speak.
And we can't forget that age comparisons have their own special words in Spanish, mayor and menor. They mean more than just older or younger, right? It's those little things that make learning a language so interesting.
I think Jaime using those visuals, like the dog and cat, was really clever. It makes you realize that finding the right way to learn is so important, something that clicks for you. That's how you make it fun.
Totally. It doesn't matter if it's pictures, listening, or even visiting a place. It's about finding what makes you curious, what makes those grammar rules actually make sense. Like Amy was saying, come up with your own comparisons, like the phone and the mobile phone or the dog and the cat. He wants you to really understand it, not just memorize it.
Yeah.
Hey, he makes it fun, like a game. Don't just learn the rules, play with them. That's a cool way to think about it. And I think a lot of people learn best that way when it clicks for them.
And for him, those clicks come from seeing things, those visuals. For a lot of people, if you show them a dog and a cat, boom, they get bigger than right away.
So if you were teaching comparatives in Spanish, what kinds of pictures would you use? Think outside the box now. What would really make people go, wow, I want to learn this?
That's a tough one. Well, we could compare those super tall skyscrapers, like in Dubai. Or how about a cheetah and a sloth? That'd be funny, seeing how different their speed is.
Nice, I can see it now. Or how about something, spicy? We can compare different peppers, like a jalapeno next to a ghost pepper. Ooh, just thinking about it makes my mouth burn.
See, that's it. The more senses you use, the better you remember. And you just remind me, we don't have to stick to objects. We could compare things like how popular different music is, or even how hard different dances are. There's no limit, really.
Wow, this deep dive has taken us to some unexpected places. What started as a grammar lesson turned into like this whole exploration of how we learn and how we see the world.
And for everyone listening, remember, you don't have to become a grammar expert overnight. It's those little wins along the way, like learning a new phrase or understanding something tricky. That feeling when you can say what you want in Spanish.
Exactly. Every little step gets you closer to being fluent and being able to connect with another culture. So go out there and find some cool Spanish resources. Keep having those aha moments. And most importantly, have fun. Until next time, keep learning.